You know, every time I head down to the range, I see all sorts of iron on the firing line. And it ain't just the guns that are telling a story, no sir. This fellow or gal holding it, well, they're giving away a whole lot about themselves without even saying a word. Today we're diving headfirst into the fascinating, sometimes hilarious truth behind what your revolver says about you. Trust me, I have seen more revolvers than lost remotes in my own living room, and that's saying something. So buckle up, because we're about to unload some truth. Alright, first up, we got the classic snub nose revolver. Now, if you carry one of these little fellas, you love danger, mostly your own, I reckon, from missing every shot past 10 feet. You probably saw some old detective movie, maybe a classic noir flick with some gritty private eye, and thought, yep, that's me, the mysterious type ready for anything. It's all about that pocket carry, the close quarters bravado. The idea of being able to pull something out of nowhere in a pinch, just when the bad guy least expects it. You might even practice that dramatic quick draw motion in front of your bathroom mirror, hoping for a chance to use it. But let's be real, with that short barrel and tiny grip, you're probably more likely to hit your own foot than a target at any real distance. Especially if you're getting to the jitters, or maybe that target decides to move. You're the kind of person who believes in the power of a surprise attack, even though that surprise is mostly for your own hand, and you know, when they, that little thing they call cannon recoils. Yeah, every shot's a bit of a prayer, hoping it goes where you want it. You're living on the edge, alright, always just a little bit off balance, like you're walking a tightrope in flip-flops. You probably tell stories about how it's all you need, but deep down you might be wishing for just a little bit more barrel length. It's the ultimate in optimism and self-defense, or maybe just a very compact way to make a whole lot more noise and maybe annoy the folks on the next lane over who are trying to shoot precisely. You're bold, you're brave, and you're probably going to need more practice. Then you've got the Colt Single Action Army. This is your go-to. It tells me one thing loud and clear. You watched one Western, probably Tombstone or Unforgiven or something similar, and you decided it was your whole personality. You don't just own a gun, you own a little piece of the Old West, don't you? You walk around with a slight swagger, maybe you hum a little, and your Morricone theme in your head as you're meticulously loading up those cartridges one by one. You probably spend more time practicing your quick draw from a fancy hand-tooled leather holster with all the fringe and engravings than actually hitting anything on paper targets. It's all about the aesthetic, the old school cool, the feeling of being a cowboy, a lawman, or even a gunslinger from a bygone era. You're ready for a dusty Main Street showdown, even if the closest thing to a saloon in your town is a Starbucks with a rustic sign, and way too many latte options. You appreciate history, sure, but mostly the Hollywood version of it where every shot's perfect and the hero never misses. You probably got a favorite cowboy hat worn just so, and you might even practice spinning the gun on your finger, much to the nervous glances of the range officers. It's a beautiful piece of craftsmanship, steeped in legend, and it's a testament to your romantic view of the past, even if it's not the most practical for modern times. Ah, the Korth. Now, if this is your revolver of choice, it says you spent $4,000, maybe more, just to feel better about never actually taking it to the range. Let's be honest, it's a safe queen, ain't it? Probably even with its own dehumidifier looking pristine and pretty. I ain't saying it's not. It's just waiting for company to come over so you can gently take it out with white gloves and talk about its precision engineering, its exquisite German craftsmanship, or some fancy talk. All while your guests are probably thinking, man, that's a lot of money for something you don't even shoot. It's a gun equivalent of owning a fancy sports car that's only ever seen the inside of a garage, or maybe a collectible comic book that never leaves its plastic sleeve, or maybe even a bottle of fine wine that you're saving for a special occasion that never comes. It's a statement piece, alright, just not the kind of statement you make with actual lead downrange. It's more of a financial flex than a ballistic one. A testament to your discerning taste and your deep pockets. You'll probably dust it off weekly and admire its lines, but the thought of letting it get dirty, oh man, that's just a bridge way too far for your delicate sensibilities. But if you're sporting a Chiappa Rhino, well, that tells me you want to be different so bad you're willing to shoot something that looks exactly like a stapler, or maybe even a fancy space tool from a sci-fi movie. I mean, it's unique, it's got that low bore axis and the barrel at the bottom to reduce muzzle flip, and that's all well good on paper. But it certainly ain't traditional, and it was definitely standing out in a crowd, let's just say that. You probably spend more time explaining why it looks that way and how the barrel's at the bottom than actually explaining its practical benefits to folks who are just trying to shoot their own guns and not get a lecture. You're the kind of person who picks the weirdest flavor ice cream, not because you love it, just because no one else does. Or maybe you wear mismatched socks as a fashion statement. It's a conversation starter. Yeah, but maybe not the one I'd pick for actual combat or even just for a quiet afternoon at the range without attracting a crowd. You're probably tired of hearing the jokes, but you secretly revel in the attention. You know you do. It screams, look at me, I'm not like the other guys, and you wouldn't have it any other way, even if it feels a bit like holding a futuristic power tool. The Smith & Wesson Model 69 Combat. Oh, this one is classic in its own right, a rugged L-frame 44 Magnum built for durability. If you got this one, you say combat a lot, don't you? And we all know you've never played airsoft, much less seen any real combat beyond figuring out how to assemble IKEA furniture on a Saturday morning. You probably just like the word combat in the name. You thought that sounded tough and rugged. You were ready for the wilderness or maybe even the living room, anything you could throw at it. You imagine yourself as a grizzled veteran of countless battles, even if your biggest daily battle is navigating rush hour traffic. It's tough, it's a sturdy revolver, no doubt. It's a 44 Magnum in a more compact package than its in-frame brethren, built like a brick outhouse to handle those powerful rounds. You chose it for its perceived toughness and reliability, hoping that owning it makes you just as tough. Probably read all the tactical blogs and watch all the training videos, even if your actual range time's a bit limited. You're ready for the zombie apocalypse, in theory, sitting on your couch watching a show about it, that is. See, this gun is a testament to your aspirations and a symbol of the wilderness warrior you want to be, even if the closest thing to a grizzly you faced is your neighbor's angry chihuahua. If you're packing a Manudrhin MR 73, well now you appreciate precision engineering, don't you? You also appreciate obscure flexes that no one else at the range understands. You're the kind of person who knows the difference between artisanal coffee beans and just plain old coffee. And you'll gladly tell anyone who will listen, probably for a good 15 minutes, before you even pick up the gun. You probably spend more time explaining the history of French firearms manufacturing and how this particular piece is a cut above the rest, with its unique roller bearing trigger system. And you do that more than actually putting holes in paper. You probably got a story about how it's better than a Python, and you'll tell anyone who will listen, even if they've never heard of Manudrhin before in their life and are just nodding politely. It's a connoisseur's gun, alright, a real collector's item often used by elite police units, so you know it does have that unspoken cred. But it's also got a secret handshake that most folks ain't privy to. You just smile knowingly as they look at it with puzzled expression, thinking it's just another gun. It's a statement about your refined tastes, your deep dive into the world of firearms, and your undeniable need to subtly one-up the casual shooter without even trying too hard. You're probably the type who can disassemble it blindfolded while discussing its historical lineage. It's a gun that demands respect, and if you're the one wielding it, you've earned that respect, even if it's just for your encyclopedic knowledge of obscure revolvers. Why'd I say it like that? Anyways, the Colt Python. Now, this one's got history, a real legend in the revolver world, known for its Python look and its smooth action. If you got a Python, it generally says one of two things about you. Either you inherited it from your grandpa, God bless his soul, he had good taste and he knew a quality firearm when he saw one. Probably kept it shined up in a velvet case. Or you bought it to feel something again. You know, piece of that classic American steel. It is a classic, by the way. A legendary piece of iron known for its buttery smooth trigger and that distinctive vented rib barrel that just screams cool. You probably spent a pretty penny on it hoping it would fill that void in your soul, bring back some of the magic from simpler times when things were built to last. It's a beauty, no doubt, a real work of art that feels balanced in your hand, but it's also a gun that carries a lot of emotional baggage for some folks, a symbol of an era. You ain't just shooting bullets with a Python, no sir, you're shooting nostalgia, or maybe a midlife crisis that got some real style and a hefty price tag. You probably treat it with kid gloves, clearing it meticulously after every single shot, worried about putting a scratch on that famous finish. It's a gun that demands respect, and if you're holding one, you're either carrying on a legacy or trying to start your own, usually with a good story about how you finally found one. Oh, the Diamondback SDR. You wanted a revolver and regret one convenient package. You probably saw it online, maybe a sleek photo on Instagram all tactical black, and thought it looked modern, aggressive, and something new and exciting, something that would stand out. You thought, hey, this could be my everyday carry, my go-to piece for looking like a secret agent. But then you shot it, and well, the reality probably hit harder than the recoil from that snappy little 357. It's the impulse buy of the revolver world, the thing that you bought on a whim and now you're kind of stuck with it, like a weird pair of shoes you bought online that looked real good in the picture. You're still trying to convince yourself it was a good idea, telling yourself it's got potential or character, your unique ergonomics, for instance. Every shot's a little reminder of the day you clicked add to cart a little too eagerly, hoping it would be something it just ain't. You're probably already looking at the next shiny thing online, hoping for a better fit for your shooting style and your buyer's remorse, as it's a modern take on a classic. But sometimes, you know what? New ain't always better, especially when it comes to comfort and avoiding that little voice in your head that says, shoulda just got a Ruger. If you're rocking Ruger GP100, you wanted a tank you could legally carry. And that's exactly what you got. This thing is built to last, something that could take a beat and keep on ticking. Probably outlasting the cockroaches after the apocalypse and then some. Recoil therapy is pretty real for you, ain't it? You probably enjoy the thud and the thump of those 357 Magnum rounds, the sheer brute force of it, looking every bit of energy transfer right through your hand. You ain't looking for finesse, you're looking for reliability, durability, and a good stout punch that lets you know you're alive and kicking. This thing is a revolver equivalent of a Ford F-150. Built tough, does the job, and ain't afraid to get a little dirty, or handle some heavy loads without complaining. You probably don't bother with any fancy holsters, because this thing's meant to be used, not just admired on a wall. It's a workhorse, a reliable partner that won't ever let you down. And it says you value dependability above all else, even if it means carrying a bit more weight. You probably brag about its longevity, talking about how many thousands of rounds you put through it without a single hiccup. The gun says, well, you mean business. The Kimber K6s TLE. You paid extra for the name, didn't you? And now you pretend the gritty trigger is tactical, like it's some kind of feature, not a minor flaw you're just trying to justify. Oh, when I see you wanted that high-end feel, that premium handgun badge that screams quality and precision, especially in a compact package. You thought, this is going to be smooth, this is going to be perfect for concealed carry, and then you felt that trigger. And instead of admitting it, well, yeah, that it's a little rough around the edges, you just coined a new term for calling it tactical feedback. You're probably the kind of person who buys designer ripped jeans and explains how the rips are strategically placed for enhanced flexibility or airflow, rather than just admitting they paid pretty good money for them holes. It's a nice gun, sure, it's compact and compatible, capable maybe, but sometimes a smooth trigger is just a smooth trigger, not some secret tactical advantage that only you understand because you're in the know. You're looking for that perfect blend of elegance and utility, that perfect carry piece that also makes a statement even if you have to creatively describe some of its more unique characteristics. The Heritage Rough Rider. You only shoot 22 LR and somehow you still flinch. It's an affordable entry into the single action world, ain't it? Well, you probably get it for kicks or maybe plinking cans in the backyard on a sunny afternoon, and that's perfectly fine. No judgment here from old Buck. It's a nostalgia piece, a nod to Old West on a budget, and it does the job for what it is. But that little 22, even that makes you jump? You squeeze your eyes shut and kind of brace yourself before each shot, even though it feels more like a strong cap gun than a firearm. And that recoil is about as fierce as a gentle breeze. It's the ultimate beginner gun, and you're still in the beginner phase of your shooting journey, even if you've had it for years and shot 1,000 rounds through it. You know, you're just happy to be here making some noise and feeling a little bit like a cowboy, even if the recoil's still a bit of a surprise every time. You probably got one of them combo cylinders so you can shoot both 22 LR and 22 Magnum just to feel a bit more powerful. It's a fun gun for sure. A great way to learn the ropes, and it says you're all about enjoying the simpler things in life, even if those simpler things still give you a bit of a jump. I just can't let that go. Taurus Judge. Now this one's a little special. A real conversation starter whether you want one or not. You bought this because you couldn't decide between being a cowboy or a mall ninja, could you? It's got that big old cylinder, capable of swallowing 45 Colt rounds or 410 shot shells, which just screams versatility, even if that versatility is a bit niche for most folks. You want to carry around something that looks imposing, that shoots shotgun shells and makes folks do a double take at the range, asking, what in the heck is that thing? You probably imagine yourself as some kind of modern-day frontiersman, don't you? Capable of fending off any threat, real or imagined, whether it's a snake in the backyard or a rogue shopping cart at the store. Please don't shoot the shopping carts. You probably spent hours debating the efficacy of 410 shot shells for self-defense, convincing yourself it's the ultimate solution, even if most folks just shake their heads. It's versatility, alright, just maybe a little over-the-top versatility for most situations, especially for comfortable concealed carry. You likely have a strong opinion about whether 410 shot shells are any good for self-defense, and you're probably ready to debate it with anyone who will listen, even if it's just your reflection in the gun store window. I know that one hit a little too close for somebody. This gun says you're prepared for the unexpected, even if the unexpected is just a very loud range trip that clears out that lane next to you. It's a statement piece, a real attention grabber, and you wouldn't have it any other way. The Smith & Wesson Model 642. You love simplicity, don't you? Especially when it comes to excuses for missing your shots. It's a lightweight, reliable little snubby, easy to carry, easy to conceal in a pocket or a small purse, almost disappearing on you. You probably chose it for its unassuming nature, its reputation for being a no-frills, get-the-job-done kind of gun. A pure tool without any fancy bells and whistles. But it's lightweight, being made from aluminum alloy, which also means a fair bit of recoil, especially with a full-power 38 special load, which can feel a bit like a mule kick in a tiny package. And that short barrel, well, that ain't helping your aim, bless your heart, even with consistent practice. So, when you miss a bullseye, which is probably more often than not, you just throw up your hands and you say, "It's a J-frame, what did you expect? It ain't a target gun." That's a convenient excuse, alright, and you use it well. Every single time you punch another hole outside the black. You probably carry it more than you shoot it, relying on its compact size for everyday defense and peace of mind. This is a gun that screams practicality and minimalism, but also it screams don't judge my groupings too harshly, it's a belly gun. You value simplicity even if it means sacrificing a little bit of precision and accepting some lively recoil. Oh man, what this RG series says about you is you don't own a revolver, you own a lawsuit waiting to happen. I mean, it was cheap, wasn't it? You probably found it at a yard sale or inherited from a questionable uncle with a cigar permanently hanging out his mouth. Or maybe you got it in a trade for a broken lawnmower and a half-empty bag of chips. Yeah, it's the automotive equivalent of a car held together with duct tape and hope, barely passing inspection, if even it gets inspected by anybody other than a squirrel. Honestly, you're probably playing with fire. Figuratively and literally every time you pull that trigger, just hoping it functions as intended and doesn't become a collection of shrapnel in your hand, turning you into a statistic. You probably load it with a certain amount of trepidation, hoping it doesn't disassemble itself mid-shot or send a piece flying in the wrong direction, maybe into your own eyebrow. Seriously, folks, invest in something that won't leave you wondering if your hand's still attached after the first shot. This gun says you're either incredibly brave, incredibly naive, or incredibly frugal to the point of questionable safety. And my guys, that ain't a good look at the range. It's a reminder that sometimes cheap ain't always cheerful, especially when lead is flying and legal bills are looming. Oh, you wanted a historical piece, didn't you? And this MLE 1915, boy, it shoots like history too, in every sense of the word. It's probably got all sorts of interesting quirks, like its unique gas seal mechanism that makes it look like it's breathing fire out the cylinder gap, and maybe the trigger pull that feels like it's dragging a plow through the muddy field uphill both ways. You appreciate the vintage feel, the connection to the past, and the fact that this very gun might have seen some action in the Great War pass through the hands of a French soldier. You probably tell everyone about its storied past, its original finish, and how hard it was to find ammo for it. Like you're recounting a historical saga. You cherish its oddities, even if those oddities, well, they make it less than pleasant to shoot. With its awkward grip and strange indexing, every time you fire it, you're reminded that modern engineering exists for a pretty good reason. And that ergonomics they've come a long way since 1915. It's a cool conversation piece, no doubt. Testament to a bygone era of a firearms design, but don't expect match-grade accuracy or rapid follow-up shots that hit anywhere near your target. This gun says you're true history buff, willing to endure a little discomfort and a lot of odd looks for the sake of owning a piece of living history, even if that history kicks a bit and smells faintly of gunpowder from a century ago. So you own a Pfeifer Zeliska, 600 Nitro Express to be exact. You bought a revolver so big it needs its own zip code. And you might need to check in some therapy for your wrist, maybe your shoulder, and maybe your dentist too. This ain't a gun, it's a small cannon. True beast of a handgun chambered in something usually reserved for dangerous game rifles that are particularly designed to stop charging elephants. You probably bought it for the sheer shock value to see the look on people's faces when you pull it out of its dedicated suitcase, a case that probably weighs more than my youngest daughter. You're chasing that ultimate thrill, that bone-jarring recoil that rattles your teeth, loosens your feelings, and might just briefly transport you to another dimension. It's less about shooting and more about surviving the experience, ain't it? Every shot's an event, every declaration an intent, a violent reordering of your skeletal system that leaves you seeing stars and hearing bells. You probably have a video yourself shooting it, mainly to prove to your grandkids that you once attempted to tame a dragon with a handlebar. Good luck with that wrist, and don't forget your industrial strength ice pack afterwards. This gun, well, it says you're an absolute madman. Flair of the dramatic and a high tolerance for pain, or at the least a strong desire to impress every single person at the range so they never forget you. Alright, so you like your 44 Special with a side of questionable reliability, a splash of true crime fame. It's a compact little 44, ain't it? Good for concealed carry, a classic some would say for folks who want a potent round in a small lightweight package that can actually be tucked away. But it's also got a reputation for both that respectable caliber and for being connected to some famous not so good situations in history, if you catch my drift and know your true crime stories. You're either a realist who wants a powerful round in a small affordable package, understanding its limitations, or you're just a little too comfortable with the grittier side of its past, perhaps even a bit intrigued by it. You might even have a story about why you picked it, perhaps something about its street cred or its no-nonsense approach to self-defense. Listen, it's definitely a utilitarian choice, a tool for a specific job, but it comes with a certain historical baggage that kind of follows it around. This gun says you're practical, perhaps a bit unconventional, and maybe you've seen a few too many true crime documentaries and figured this was the authentic choice. The Janz EM frame revolver. Oh man, you spent $6,000, maybe even more, on a revolver just to tell everyone it's like a Korth but fancier? You're the kind of person who always has to one-up the other guy, ain't you? You heard about the Korth and thought, no, I need something more exclusive, more bespoke, more something that truly screams I have arrived and then some. It's not just about the shooting for you, it's not really. It's about the flex. It's the subtle nod that you're in a completely different financial league, a connoisseur of truly rare and ridiculously expensive. You probably order it with custom grips made from endangered wood and a special finish that changes color in different light just to make sure it's absolutely unique and nobody else has one. And you'll make sure everyone knows it too, perhaps by casually mentioning its price point or incredibly limited production numbers or the waiting list you were on. You're a collector of the highest order, where the investment is as much a part as the appeal as the firearm itself. A statement of ultimate luxury. This gun says you're the absolute pinnacle of revolver collecting and you don't mind letting folks know, either directly or through highly detailed descriptions of its features and why it's superior to all the other common high-end revolvers. What this gun says about you is that you picked a revolver that reloads slower than Windows 95 and you call it historic. Oh man, the gas seal, the cylinder that moves forward to meet the barrel, the peculiar mechanism for feeding rounds one at a time. It's definitely historical, no doubt. A true relic from the Russian Empire, but practical for modern use? Well, not so much, bless its heart. You enjoy the challenge, the quirks, the fact that nobody else has one, and the sheer oddity of its design that makes range officers scratch their heads. You're probably a history buff who's willing to sacrifice speed and convenience for the sake of authenticity, and you likely know every single detail about its service in the Tsarist Army and later the Soviet Union. You spend more time fiddling with the loading gate and actually explaining its unique features than, well, sending lead down range. Kind of like having a living history reenactor. You probably even like the sound of that weird muffled shot it produces due to the gas seal. Listen, you'll be talking about it, but mostly about how difficult it is to operate and how long it takes to reload 7 more rounds. This gun says you value historical accuracy above all else, even if it means a very slow reload and a lot of frustrated sights. And finally, the North American Arms Mini Revolver. you bought a gun so small it might legally count as jewelry or maybe a very impressive keychain attachment for your truck keys. Seriously, it is tiny. And what this says about you is, well, you value ultimate concealment above all else, or you just wanted something truly unique and almost comical in its diminutive size. But seriously guys, that actually looks pretty average. Anyways, it's more of a last-ditch effort, a better-than-nothing kind of gun, ain't it? You probably carry it in your watch pocket or maybe even on a necklace, hoping nobody ever notices it until you absolutely positively need it. It's less about stopping power and more about having something in a pinch, a little bit of unexpected firepower that fits anywhere. You probably get a kick out of people's reactions when you show it to them, how they squint and lean in trying to figure out what it is, wondering if it's a toy or a fancy lighter. It'll get them speaking about you. But yeah, mostly about how you even manage to hold it with your own grown-up hands. Much less actually, well, you know, aim it effectively at anything bigger than a postage stamp. This gun says you're either a minimalist to extreme or you just wanted the smallest possible bang for your buck. A true pocket pistol in every sense of the word. But there you have it, folks, a little peek into what your choice of revolver really tells the world. Whether you're a history buff or just looking for a pocket companion, each piece of iron has its own story, and so do you. Remember, be safe, be responsible, and keep that Second Amendment strong. Now, if you enjoyed this little breakdown, go on and hit that subscribe button, and you know what, drop a comment below talking to me about what your favorite revolver is. Y'all stay safe out there, alright?